Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Joy. We are in Joy, and today we present you the topic that is super, super fascinating to both of us. It is true alchemy. And what we mean by alchemy is not the original version, as you may know from, I think it was Brother Grimm,
Brothers
fairy
Grimm?
tale, Brother Grimm.
Oh.
Um, the Germans, Bruder Grimm, Rumpelstiltskin,
Rumpelstiltskin?
Rumpelstiltskin,
Okay.
where the I think it's a miller's daughter. Says that she can turn straw into gold, and then this little Rumpelstiltskin appears, this little person, and
Mhm.
it truly turns the straw into gold, right? And what the straw represents for us in true alchemy is actually the crap in life, right? And the experiences that we would define as unpreferred, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Welcome back to another episode of Joy, the Journey of You podcast. We're your hosts, Devin and Chris, and we're here for joy.
This podcast is your permission slip to reconnect to your inherent joy and to embrace it.
Let's fill up the cosmic joy pot together as we dive in to today's episode.
When we use these principles and these processes of true alchemy, we actually take that what we perceive as worthless and turn it into gold, into something super worthy, something very wise, right? And that takes it from the egoic level to that soul level, right? And to us, in our perception and our experience, true alchemy happens when we have that higher awareness, when we rise above and we become aware of the fact that we actually have more than just one perspective, and that we have a choice between how we define a situation and experience, how we move forward with it, and how we use the energy that is caught within it. And it happens when we use these challenges in life and take them as fertilizers for something magical, something magnificent, something beautiful. And when we don't, we call that reverse alchemy,
Mm.
is when we just see these experiences in life, these heavy things, these challenges, and we say, okay, wow, this is a roadblock. I'm just not meant to do this, right? I'm a terrible person. I'm not enough. And all these beliefs that come up around it. And we just kind of surrender to destiny, but not in a strong way, like I accept, but it's like a very victim orientation. And I think we touched on that before in previous episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually just shared an experience like this where we were very much in our egoic orientation, and we did this process on it, and we want to share with you what came through. And it's about the book that Devin wrote, if you want to show it behind you.
Here it is.
Hi. Good Grief, which is really, really an awesome book. And when is it coming out?
May 28th.
And is there a list that they can sign up to if they want it early, or can you
Yeah, yeah,
already
yeah.
get it?
Yeah, no, totally. On my website, drdevindegrief.com, there's a section for the book. So you can either find links to purchase it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, or you can order specialty copies directly from me on my website.
Yay.
Yeah.
So what happened is we worked so much on also on the cover and to get it into a place where we love it. But
Mm-hmm.
when it arrived and when we both saw it, what happened was that our ego started all this loud chatter about it, right? And we did a process together actually before we recorded, or we instead of recording an episode, actually we met up and we did a process together on it to alchemize what our egos came up with, all the crap, and we would love to share. So, what came up for you, Devin?
Yeah, so right away, for me, well, before I even opened the box of the books, there was like this hesitation to like have it be real. And And of course, it brings up a lot of emotion for me because the whole book is a story of all of that lead, all of that straw, right? And me actually turning it into gold. So me getting the book was like this representation of that. So the first thing that happened was like this resistance to even want to interface with that again. And then when I opened the box of books, immediately my sense was is that this book is so small. Everything just it looked so small, and immediately my ego took over of like all of this work, all this time, all this money, all this energy, all this focus, and like this is how big it is. And it was just like such a defeatist perspective. And in that moment, I was not coming from a higher place. I was very much coming from a lower reactive emotional place that very much was perceiving this book being honestly worthless, like being like we should just shut down. Like, so I'm doing a lot of promotion right now to share about my story in the book through podcasts and interviews and online and things. And immediately what that egoic response wanted me to do was just to shut everything down, to like cancel the book launch, cancel all conversations. Like if I would have really like the depth of really listening to that voice, truth be told, is like I was just like nothing, cancel it all, right?
Mm.
And yeah, and so when you and I met up, and it was very true for us to rather than push through that, right? Like we talk about what true alchemy really is not pushing through and being like, yeah, yeah, I feel that way, but just overpower it. Is I had to like be real about what was going on, and but then also get a higher perspective. And once I got that higher perspective, what was very, very, very obvious was the size of this book is perfect
Mm.
for many reasons. Number one being is like today's day and age, there's so much information out there, like it's overwhelming. And isn't it nice to get a power-packed book of information that's just the size that it needs to be versus today there's so much extraneous excess stuff that's unnecessary. And it's like it's actually refreshing to have something that's just potent and to the point. And that's what my higher wisdom was really showing me of that, like it's not only that it's the right size for the size, it's because of this topic is very intense and heavy, and so it's like only what needs to be said is what needs to be said so that the point gets across to have impact. You have actually greater impact with less word and with greater energy versus so much extraneous word. And I think today's day and age that happens a lot. And so
Mhm.
and so
Mhm.
that's my creative genius was really telling me, um basically to like at today's pace and in general not throwing people into overwhelm on a topic that can already be overwhelming, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, so it was really in that higher wisdom of that me seeing a different perspective and getting out of the muck of it all, and that's really the true alchemy. And we'll talk about this more. I want to give Chris you the opportunity to share your perspective and experience with the book because you also had stuff come up
Mhm.
um, as being a part of the book. And I think that's really cool to share with people because yeah, it's my book and my journey. And when we share life with other people, which we all do, stuff's gonna come up. Stuff's gonna come up. Yeah. But that was my
Yeah.
side. That was my side of some of the experience and the difference between when I was really in the egoic and then what happened when I went above it and really saw it from a different lens is there's very much a purpose behind its size and which was exactly what my muse guided me from the first place, right?
Mm.
So yeah, so that was my experience.
Mm.
How
Yeah, for
about you?
me it was very similar when I saw it. I was like, wow, it's so small. And we spent so much time on the cover, on creating that, on making it like exactly what we wanted it to be. And I was like, it's not so golden. Like I thought it would be more shiny and more golden, and it doesn't look so eye-catching. And what if nobody sees it? And um just also that sheer size of it because so much went into it and it feels so small, right? And for me, when I went into the soul perspective, the exact same thing came through that like this size is so perfect because people in grief are so overwhelmed with all that's going on inside. They cannot really take any additional information from the outside. And if you give them a big book, even if it just looks big and the print is big inside, like if it's big, it cannot be ingested. Like it cannot even reach the inside of their sphere, kind of.
Yeah.
And the playfulness of the cover also makes it so much more accessible. It's not a serious thing, like the topic itself is so serious already, but this really activates their inner child.
Hmm.
And it will, like, the size and the cover and all of it will really, like, the energy of the book will really attract the ideal audience and the hearts that will be inspired and supported through reading it, right?
Mhm.
And as you said, we are in a complete information overwhelm, but the wisdom in it, like condensing that, is really the art, and an art that not many people know how to handle, right? Because so many people think more is better, and they
Mhm.
fluff things up, and with that they just steal time and energy, right? Where if it
Mhm.
can be short and thin, why not, right? And
Mhm.
still, like, there's so much gold in that book.
Mhm.
um it's perfect exactly as it is. And the fun thing for me is just, in this alchemical process, to see it's the same situation. It's the exact same situation. We have the exact same book, and we
Yep.
can think either, oh my God, this is crap, or we can choose to see the other version of it and say, wow, this is genius, actually. Wow, like this
Mhm.
couldn't have been better, right? And that we get to choose what we focus our energy on, which connects back to a past episode where we spoke about focus, right? And that is what we create the energy around then. So we create the energy around people being attracted to it because it's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I love that this just happened as we of course as we tune into alchemy. So we have such a perfect live example to share with the listeners. And
And that's really what true alchemy is. True alchemy is that like the stuff that's happening right here, right now, is the opportunity to be applying alchemy, to be applying, oh, there's a realization of there is another perspective here, right? True
mm,
alchemy is realizing that what's happening right now is not the only truth of what's happening. And so we're
exactly.
gonna we're gonna guide you through a demonstration of this expanded state of awareness. But let's just frame it up to say that basically we have these two modes of awareness, but when we are unaware of that, we're only going to see things as they are, and but stuff's going to be happening day in and day out. So that's why it became very, very obvious for Chris and I to be using real world, like real stuff that's happening real time right now, because there's a lot of energy and a lot of charge to it. The amount of resistance that I have had this last week and a half is real. It's very real. And every day I'm applying these principles of alchemy to take the heaviness and take all the resistance and everything and transform it through alchemy. So I'd love to guide you all in doing that for yourself. So the first thing would be to is first just bring your focus into something in your life right now that you have a lot of energy on, like your mind's fixated on. You're just like it's like a thing, right? You're just like something you're in your shit about, basically, right? And first thing first is just to one really important part here is to notice how you're currently looking at it. So just notice all of your thoughts and feelings about it, all the emotion and the charge, how you would probably try to like solve that issue or approach that issue given the scenario and situation you have like right now. Like just with the information you have right now and the way you're currently looking at it, just notice what you would do. Notice how you relate to it. Yeah, and you're probably going to be really familiar with this. This is probably something that you do a lot. And so it's like, I only know this way. This is just what I know how to deal with this, right? So just notice that for yourself. Good. Okay. So now that you know, like, this is how it is. This is where, if I did nothing else, this is how I'd approach it. Now I invite you to imagine that you could expand your lens of awareness. So imagine that the whole field of awareness of this scenario starts to open up, or that you're flying above the scenario. Like you just get like literally like a bird, like an eagle flying above the scenario to look at it from this point of view. Just try to get some different point of view. So either it's you step away from it and get a wider lens, you fly above it and you just see it from a different point of view. And just first just notice what's obvious. Like from this point of view, what's obvious about the scenario that you didn't see down there that you can now see from this higher lens. And then taking it a little step further is imagine that there's always gold hidden in every negative experience. Any experience we're having, there's gold here. So imagine that like there is something here in this scenario. And so allow that to emerge and like what would that be in this case? either what's the higher wisdom or what's the renewed perspective or the empathy and compassion that comes forward about a person or a scenario. And just from this higher lens, this higher perspective of yourself, what becomes obvious. Yeah. And so taking your time to allow yourself to sit with that, if you want to pause and sit with that a little bit longer, feel free. And I'd love to hear from Chris of because we're doing this real time right now, right? Even though we've shared a story, is Chris is tuning into real time what's coming up for her. So I'd love for her to share with us so that we get this context. So Chris, what came up for you in this demo?
What immediately popped up is how full and it's like my days are like Tetris. So my calendar is bursting at the moment because I launched a new program for career transitions, and I started with free case studies, and like the wait list is increasing. There's so much pressure, and everything else that's on my on my plate, everything wants to get done, and it just
Mm,
feels like where do I go? What do I do? Right?
yeah.
And I have no space for myself. And what came through from that eagle perspective is that actually this is a perfect opportunity for me to really tune into what is my truth, like with every single time slot that I'm giving away. Is this really my truth? Even if it feels fun, it doesn't need to be true for me. It because there's so many fun things, right?
Yeah.
And secondly, um, that actually the for me, the way it works, the more I do, the more time I have. Like time expands when I'm really in flow, when I'm doing what's true for me. There's no
Mm.
time drains somehow. And it's really it feels magical. And I keep forgetting this perspective that that actually happens. And I'm now curious to see how that will turn out.
Hmm. Right on. Yeah, see, this is the gift of getting these higher perspective is because we get perspective, right?
Yes.
Like we literally see it from a different point of view, right?
And it's usually when you rise above, it's the better point of view. It's the
Yeah.
easier, and it becomes light and fun and playful. Whereas when you're in the shit, you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what do I do?
Well, it's truth, right? The higher perspective, actually truth versus down here, what we're doing is we're being clouded by our perceptions and judgments based off the past. And so there's a
Mm,
cloud down here that we're actually clouding the future based on the past. Whereas
mm,
up in here, there's clarity and there's truth. There's truth
mm,
in that. Yeah. And yeah, it's so funny. I was thinking about this the other day in reference to this because when videos on Instagram and things started to pop up with this POV, like point of view, and then there would
mm.
be like a little thing. When I first saw this, I was like, an oldie. I was like, what is POV? Right? And then coming to find out it's point of view. And it's so fascinating to me about how on Instagram and social media, how we all have these videos of points of views, but it's all from everybody else's points of view when the true point of view that would
Comes from
serve
the
everybody the
inside.
most is from the
Exactly.
inside and their
Yes.
higher self, right?
Yeah.
So I invite you into that lens of this whole point of view trend that's happening, this POV trend that's happening out there. Is this is a different way to get a true point of view with clarity.
Mm,
Yeah, and for me, um, more came through about so like I'm in the thick of just being with the emotions and what comes up every day in my resistance towards my book coming out next week. And just the higher wisdom is every time I'm jumping on a call, whether it be to serve one of my clients, whether it be to have a podcast interview, just to meet with somebody, but all the things that I'm doing is I'm showing up every day in spite of the resistance, using the higher perspective to know like I'm moving through something. So it's like
mm,
most of the time it's like just show
mm,
up. Me getting here, showing up, I start to move through that density and it starts to transform. But it's the higher wisdom to know like this is true for me and that is resistance. And from that higher lens, it's like I can just view my resistance of like, okay, it's there and I'm still going to act in spite of my truth.
mm,
Um, and I'm just seeing that real time as we did that today. It's like once again, here I am, once
mm.
again, applying and sharing with people very vulnerably about like this is what I'm moving through and interfacing, and it's real, and this is the real humanness. This is real true alchemy. I think a lot of times when people hear about alchemy or alchemists, um, there can be like this separation of like, well, they, you know, like they have so much more experience, or Devin's story is so big, of course she's good at it. It's just this stuff is happening day in and day out, you guys, right?
Mhm.
So I'd be so curious what that experience is for you. So first thing is like is to register this for yourself, whether it be that you want to write it down or you just want to like kind of log of how you were looking at this situation, and then now what perspective you get by rising above it or getting a wider lens. And then now you have choice.
Mhm.
Now you have conscious choice that you get to choose. Do you want to keep a wider lens and keep assuming that there's gold and that there's wisdom here? Or do you want to narrow your lens back down and stay in that limited perspective? And we're not saying one's right or wrong. We're just simply saying that that true alchemy is the realization that you have choice.
Mhm.
And then real true alchemy is choosing the higher so that you are always leaning into your truth. And truth be told, that there's a way to become more skilled in this. You know, this is why Chris and I, we coach in this. We have coaches ourselves in this, because the more refined you get, the more you're doing this real time, all the
Mhm.
time, right? Like as I'm
Mhm.
sharing right now, I'm doing this all the time. So wherever you're at, just start with what the scenario is now and just see what unfolds from here, right? So like you got this higher perspective on your current scenario, and now take action on that and choose that. We invite you to choose that and see what happens. See what happens,
Mhm.
and how you can view that experience and maybe have a different experience within that experience.
And I want to share something that just came up as you shared, is that really changing perspectives is like two sides of a coin, and you get to choose which side.
Mhm.
And the other thing is that I don't know how exactly the phrase goes, but it's like energy can neither be destroyed or created, it can only change form, right?
Mhm.
And by you can imagine that both scenarios have energy contained in them, right? And by choosing which side of the coin you focus on, you focus the energy on that. So you don't create more energy for that, but you focus the energy on that higher scenario, and that's how you create that higher scenario. So for example, if we take that book example, if we would stay stuck in this book is so small nobody will see it, that is the creation we focus our energy on, right? But because we came to this realization and we choose the side of the coin where this book is perfect, it is exactly how it is meant to be, then that's what we give energy to. That's the scenario that we create through our focus, right? And that's what's going to happen.
Mhm.
So yay.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is such a good follow-up to our last couple episodes, right? Of where our focus goes, our energy flows, right? And so
Mm,
as we focus on that higher perspective, our energy is going to flow there, and that's going to build more energy around that truth. And so I loved
mm,
you tying that in because it ties right into the things that we've been talking about as of late.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
put it into practice, choose your focus, choose the side of the coin you prefer,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that you see both sides of the coin first of
Mm-hmm.
all. Become aware of that, and yeah.
And lean into your true alchemy.
Mhm.
Lean into your
And
true
have fun
alchemy.
with it.
Yeah. So
Okay,
here's to the joy of true alchemy, guys. And till next time,
see you
have a
next
great one.
time.
Bye.
Bye.